Hey guys, this is Dr. Sandy. Just really hope everything's going well on your end. This video is part 3 of a series on stress. We've already done a video on physical stress, how it affects the nerve system. We've done one on chemical, basically your diet, and this is the last one. So this is emotional stress and probably the most important, probably the most common. Now, a lot of patients I've talked to will a lot of times they're like, wow, like never thought about that. And basically, what that means is that stress does affect the nerve system. It can lead to issues with the spine. It puts the stress puts more stress on the nerve system, leading to health issues. So, most of us, if I look at the world right now, everyone I believe on a certain level has stress. So the question is not if you have stress, it's just a question of how much you have, and more importantly, how are you managing it? And I really think this is where chiropractic can really help a lot of people because people, especially with so many things happening in the world right now, stress is very high this time in history. Um, I think a lot of people are worried about what's happening around the world and different countries. A lot of concern. Obviously, this is something very unique happening in the world. And it's just, what are tools, what are things we can do to manage that stress? Because if that stress gets into the nerve system, if it gets accumulated in the nerve system and the nerve system is just overwhelmed, you can see things like physical symptoms. You see dysfunction, maybe the focus, the sleep, the energy gets affected. So let's talk about stress. What are things that may trigger stress? So one would be internal. So these are things like maybe where you work, maybe if you're in school, maybe with your family, maybe with friends. I think just having that worry, that concern, that overwhelm. Maybe you work somewhere and there's just been a lot of projects, a lot of late nights, a lack of sleep. Um, any type of change in your normal life, not enough, too much, that can be stressful. And that really does take a toll on the nerve system. And sometimes the stress is very minor, but it builds up over time. We talked about relationships. I think a lot of stress for people is financial. That can also be a source of stress. So we should be aware of that and how it affects the nerve system. The next category would be external things, and as I've already mentioned, like what's happening in the country I live in, the world, what's going on, and as I've already mentioned, there's been a lot of stress obviously lately, but there's always things happening, and people can interpret that, look at that, and say, there's a lot of feeling of uncertainty, anxiety, which can actually affect again the brain and nerve system. So let's say the stress builds up in the nerve system in the body. How can that express itself? So if there's too much stress, some people tend to get angry, some people get quiet, depressed. If it's really overwhelming stress, some people might even grieve. It just really can affect the mind and body on so many levels. So what are some tools we can use to help with the stress now? What are things we can do immediately to help with the emotional stress? So, number one is deep breathing. So, taking those deep breaths, and you can study all the different techniques, see what works for you, see what time frame works for you. If you're getting into deep breathing exercises, I would first probably recommend, I think, before bed because it'll most likely help you sleep better. But the deep breathing will basically be what I tell my patients is really simple. Breathe through the nose, out through the mouth, and choose a time frame that works for you. If it's a few minutes in the beginning, that's great. I know some people who might even go longer. Some people maybe go half an hour, even more than that. See what works for you. You have to measure that, but something is always better than nothing. Great way to help with stress. Stretching. So as I mentioned, when we get overwhelmed with stress, the nerve system gets overstimulated. Um, Muscles will start to contract. The body will actually change in posture, the way it moves. There may be more stiffness. So if we can do stretching, that'll help get stress out of the body, stress out of the nerve system. So that's something you can do, obviously. Another thing that I'm always going to be a big advocate, I made a whole video on this as well, is journaling. So writing down what's bothering you, use a laptop, use a piece of paper, just get it out of your system. And then I'll leave that up to you if you want to keep it to yourself, if you want to share it to someone you really trust. Of course, that's up to you. Talking to someone, you know, um, someone where, again, you feel comfortable, maybe a family or a friend, where you can talk to them about what's bothering you. and you feel like they have your trust, or you may have to call a professional, hire them for their services, that how they can help you through something. So maybe hiring a professional might be an option as well if you feel the stress is too much. And of course, I think the biggest value, I think sometimes we think of chiropractic on that physical level, but that in chiropractic, we want people to have a more stress-free life, stress-free living. We want stress out of the nerve system. So when you are getting adjusted, when that spine is in alignment, the emotional health will be better. It's only going to be a positive. If there's a system that's stuck, like the nerve system, and it can't operate the way it should, if you can align that system, of course it will be beneficial mentally, emotionally, because the body has less stress and there's less pain, there's less discomfort, there's less dysfunction. So if we can bring that nerve system as close as possible to a healthy state, get that stress out of the system, the way you think, the way you feel will be positive. To me, it's like if someone has health issues and if they can just start eating right, it's probably just going to help them. So the same thing with the spine, when it's properly aligned, you're just helping the nerve system operate better. The brain's getting more information. The spinal cord is just operating more efficiently. It's going to be a positive, right? And as there's so many physical benefits to chiropractic, it really helps with stress management. It helps people feel more relaxed. They can deal with things better. The emotional and mental benefits are something huge, and I think they need to be talked about more. So always remember too that in life, when the mind and body are healthy and strong, even if something does become stressful or you get exposed to it, you'll handle it so much better, because there's always, let's be real about it, there's always going to be certain levels of stress. It's a question if it's low or high, but I believe if the mind and body are healthy, you can work your way through it. It'll be more productive, it'll be healthy, and it starts with a healthy brain and nerve system, through getting adjusted through chiropractic care. So God bless you. Wishing you all the best. If you're liking these videos, please put a like out there. If you could share, if you could subscribe, if you're really enjoying this material, I would really appreciate it. I wish you all the best to you and your family, and God bless you.